Hello, my name is W.Pandikow and I am the creator of this brooch. Except for the brooch mechanism, which is made of stainless steel, the piece is made completely out of reused plastic bags that are labeled biodegradable. The technique is the basketry technique of coiling. Generally in coiling you have a core, a center material, around which another material is wound in order to contain the coil and connect it to the previous layer. The materials of these two parts can be different or the same. The center can be left visible or completely covered, as I usually do. And the way the layers are connected can also be very varied in how the stitches are made and placed. So there is a lot of variation depending on where or when the basket comes from, its maker, and so on. What I find extremely fascinating about the technique is that it is really, really old. Traces of it have been found in the archaeological record all over the world, already in the Stone Age. Using our hands to work a material from our direct environment, creating something, developing a technique and passing these skills on over generations is deeply human. This is craft. This is how we have developed our culture. The materials that we have directly at hand have changed greatly, and we have, through our own influence, changed our environment drastically. So in these pieces I have taken a very modern and often quite problematic material and have reworked it using a truly ancient technique. We all, of course, know how problematic plastic bags can be. They are derived from a fossil resource, they are hard or impossible to recycle, they are easily discarded into the environment where they endanger other species, they fall apart into smaller and smaller pieces, creating microplastics and so on. Unfortunately, biodegradable plastic bags are not really that much better. While some of them are made from something other than a fossil source, definitely not all are. In many cases they cannot in fact be degraded in a home compost environment. And some don't really biodegrade or decompose, but just turn into more micro and nanoplastics. As they are not recyclable, they can also contaminate otherwise recyclable plastics if they're thrown in the same bin. So I do question if they really are a solution instead of just an additional problem. Overall, of course, plastics are deeply integrated into our civilization and they can be extremely useful. But at which point does usefulness become just an empty kind of convenience? So we have a carrier bag and we have another carrier bag, and I use this term because something like 2 years ago, I think, a friend of mine mentioned that the very first basket-like pieces I did reminded her of Ursula K. Le Guin's carrier bag theory of fiction, which was one of the greatest comments I've ever got on my work. Extremely simplified, Le Guin talks about the need to tell different kinds of stories in order to be able to change how we live our lives. We face immense challenges in this world today with the loss of biodiversity and climate change. And while we of course definitely need technological innovations and advancement to deal with them, I don't think that alone is enough. So, as many others, I do believe that we need a readjustment of our values. We also need to relearn some old knowledge and some truths that we have forgotten or ignored. And I think old crafts is a good example of this. I think it can be very useful to look back into things that we have developed over a long amount of time. And especially I think we need to reevaluate the materials we have and how to use them and how to use them better and how to make do with things we already know. So in my own tiny way, I hope to give a different viewpoint on this one specific material and maybe be able to tell a slightly different story about it.